could learn something from you. And the way you...
Sorry, just seen an interesting article here about Starmer saying there are two who'd like to reduce the number of people going to prison through renewed efforts to cut reoffending. This is actually good. It's actually good. I did have something here. This would be relevant to that. Excuse me. That's actually good. So we can actually get on with the stream. So bear with me 1 minute. I'm just trying to see if there's any last minute interesting kind of additions I could put on from Twitter. It doesn't look like there's much. Just I bloody hate what Elon's done. Probably moan about it all the time, but Jordan Pickford's been announced as Secretary of State for Defence. Good stuff. Yeah, that's about it really. You know, England won. It's good news. I was watching the game earlier. I had a long day. It's my birthday today. A very long day, as you can imagine. But I do try and stream on weekends, and I was going to work out tomorrow. Start working out. So yeah, I'd rather stream today than tomorrow, so I can leave myself open to do content. So here we are, Saturday at 9:40, streaming. So I'm going to start with Joe Biden just absolutely stumbling over his words here, embarrassingly so.
By the way, I'm proud to be, as I said, the first vice president, first black woman to serve with a black president. I'm proud of the first black woman in the Supreme Court. There's just so much that we can do because together there's nothing. Look, this is the United States of America.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with his brain here. I'll put the sad music on.
By the way, I'm proud to be, as I said, the first vice president, first black woman to serve with a black president. I'm proud of the first black woman in the Supreme Court. There's just so much that we can do because together there's nothing. Look, this is the United States of America.
It's over for him. I think I've seen some of the major donors are pulling out and saying they're not backing him. And once you lose the money, that's over. Especially in America, um, especially in America, like it's Jova. It's actually Jova. Like he there is so much doubt on him. You know, you've got different members of the DNC openly saying Biden needs to stand down. And based on this, you know, like he wasn't what he was trying to say was not complex. He has the first female black vice president. He served under a black president. He put up someone in the Supreme Court who is black. That's all he was trying to say, and he just fumbled it. Well, yeah, those two do talk for ages. To be fair, um, but yeah, if you mention it enough, they will appear angrily. But yeah, I think it's over for Biden. This Obama's former senior advisor David Axelrod calls on Biden to step aside, so the president's age will dominate the rest of the most important campaign and sully the president's historic legacy. I don't think it's his age that's necessarily the issue; it's his brain that's the issue. I don't think he's that much older than Bernie, um, and yeah, his brain is melted. His brain is gone. It's just gone, and he has enabled Israel to carry out their genocide in Gaza. Let's be real, and so I don't want to feel any sympathy for him, but he's not aware of what's going on fully. His brain is not fully there, and so his team need to pull him aside and say, look, it's over. They should have done this months ago, potentially a year ago, and said to him, look, you're done. You're done. You got rid of Trump. You did something great. You're done. Go look after your son. He needs your help. That's what they should have done. Because he's not well, and it is sad when you see someone like this. I don't know what the situation was with Reagan, Ronald Reagan, but with Biden, it's sad. It's so sad. I just, what can you say apart from his team need to step up and say it's over, Grandpa. It's over. Like it's time. It's time to step aside. You had a good run. You got rid of one of the worst presidents of all time in Donald Trump in the modern era, most definitely. You did the country a favor. You did your nation a favor. It's time. Your service is done. Go enjoy what's the rest of your life. Do you know what I mean? Go enjoy what's the rest of your life, and yeah, because he's not doing anyone any favors. He's not doing anyone for any favors. The American public want to see him gone, and I think what you'll see is just a lot of people just not turning up to vote, a very low voter turnout, and that's going to help Donald Trump because for 100% his base will turn out. His base will be there no matter what. And so it makes me quite sad. I think his team have really let him down, in my opinion. It shouldn't have gone down like this. It's grim. I know I haven't followed it that closely, but I remember him reaching out to a representative who had passed away, and the way he was speaking was as if she was there in the room with them, and I was like, that's terrifying. That's actually terrifying. Like, if that was my relative, I'd be trying to get them help. I would be trying my best to get them help into a hospital. Like, what they are doing, what his team are doing is elder abuse, in my opinion. What his team have allowed to happen is abhorrent. Is absolutely abhorrent. Like, this is neglect on the highest levels. Apparently, his wife and son don't want to leave. Well, if Trump wins, they're going to have to leave anyways. Is it Hunter, his son Hunter? Is that the one you're talking about? Like, his wife, if his wife actually loved him, like genuinely loved him, she would tell him it's time to go. Forget the prestige of being first lady. What does that matter when your husband is sick? He needs help. I don't get it, man. It's just painful. It's painful. It's not funny anymore. It's not funny. All the no malarkey stuff and will you shut the hell up, man? All of that stuff was funny. This isn't funny anymore. This is sad. This is tragic. to watch a guy who is the most powerful leader in the world, right, succumb to this, just old age and his brain just degrading, and the fact that no one has had the guts to tell him it's over, dog. Like, you've had a great run. You've had a great run. You know, you were a senator, you were a vice president, you were the president. You've had a good run. You know, you've done well. It's over. I just don't get why it's so hard to have that conversation with him. Maybe he's just worried. In his head, you can see, like, he's happy to keep going, because maybe he thinks he's still there to an extent. You know, he's not as sharp as he used to be, but he thinks he's still good enough to run, you know, maybe better than the other people. You know, but everyone can see it. It's just not good. Everyone can see he's not healthy at all. I just also Trump, the Republicans, and the media would present Biden leaving as a win for them. I suppose so, yeah, but I guess him not running again would be a win, yeah. But it shows the Democrats actually have some principles. I will say, like, their candidate isn't good enough, and he's happy to go. He's happy to leave. You know, Trump would never do the same, despite the fact that he's also a gaffe machine. He also slurs. He also says really abhorrent things. Their guy is that with their party's loyalty to the end, at least with the Dems. This person here is deranged. I'm gonna get this tweet off my screen. That is derangement syndrome right there. It's so over. It makes me sad, guys. Like, you don't want to see a person like just end like this. Like, him making it through another term will be a miracle on its own. Another 4 years of him. Is it? I'm trying to remember how long they'd be in for, because they get sworn in. It's a bit weird because obviously in the UK it's instant. It's within a few days. In America, it's over a period of months. But like, he needs to go. Like, it's time. And I think the fact that his team, his family, the Dems haven't had the guts to say it. The media, I think, to an extent, haven't had the guts to say it. It's just they're so scared of the other team winning that they haven't realised that you are hurting your team doing this. Have you seen the plan for 2025? I have not. I just, with Biden, it's tragic. It's a tragedy, especially if Trump wins again. You know, who is he going to blame if Trump wins again? Is he going to say people shouldn't have doubted me? Like, my guy, like, you can't string two sentences together. If this was Trump in the state, the Dems would be all over him. But that's how partisan politics works, I'm afraid. Like, that's just how it goes. It's sad. Like, I get he won against Trump, but, you know, I don't think he'll win again. I'll be honest. I see a very apathetic election. I see not a lot of people turning out. You know, one of the reasons why Biden won was not just because he had good policies, it's because people wanted Trump out. You're not going to see that as much anymore. You're not going to see certain voters turn up, especially when Biden, you know, made a lot of promises and didn't deliver on many. But even the ones I think he could deliver on, you will not see certain minority groups turn up for Biden, and also like just pro-Palestine voters in general, because it is a very diverse group of people. It's not just people from the Middle East or Muslim people. It goes way beyond that. It's a very diverse group of people who are pro-Palestinian, and I don't think those people will come out and vote for Joe Biden. I think even if you make the argument of, well, you know, the situation in Palestine would be worse under Trump, Biden is still enabling a genocide, and so I just don't think that excuse will wash. I'm afraid. It's nervy. I'll be honest. Chances are Trump would lose because his record is so bad, but given the media love giving him free attention, the only thing you can hope is the courts get involved. And to be fair, the Supreme Court botched it. They botched it. You know, they're meant to be you know, they were meant to be a country of, they don't want a monarchy, they don't want someone who's above the law, and the Supreme Court said, psych, the president's above the law. So, honestly, I'm just not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it. If anyone can actually defend Trump, or maybe the fact that they think there's no There's no one who is better than Biden. I don't know. Like, I would love it if Bernie came back, but he's running for the Senate again. Um, I don't know. There's got to be someone, like anyone in the Democratic Party, like, has to be talented enough where they can beat Trump. Like, how are you gonna lose to Trump? Honestly, I just, it is sad. I know I've said that a few times, but there's nothing more. There's nothing more for me to say really. Like, the two party. Well, what we're seeing in both the UK and the USA really is the first past the post system is just completely failing people. Putting up candidates that are just really stupid and are not worthy of the positions they're in. Someone said like the USA is in the USSR phase, and I kind of see what they're saying because they've got two leaders who should not be there, and the only reason there is because of the political systems. Um, it's just ironic given the way that you kind of in Western countries you clown the USSR and things like that, and rightfully so because of the way those countries are set up. Um, but at the same time, we're in countries where you promote party leaders who are just utterly incompetent, utterly unable to do to inspire confidence, which is the bare minimum I think a leader should have be able to do, is at least inspire confidence. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if Trump's going to be smoking the Biden pack by the end of the election, but I can tell you it's not going to be pretty. This one, it's not. And every stumble Biden has, the media are going to be all over him. Trump is going to be all over him. Speaking of bad times, we're looking at the results here. The SNP lost around 30 MPs, which is kind of nuts when you look at it. Let's just bring this up here to really hurt Aki's soul. Labour are up, to 412. It's mostly because their vote stood still, whilst I think most other groups' kind of votes dropped off. It's totally undemocratic. It is undemocratic. Having a two-party system, a first-past-the-post system is undemocratic in itself, in my opinion. Proportional representation is the only way to go. You can't have a system where a candidate can win significantly more votes than the opposite number, and the opposite number still win. You just walk into hell with that kind of mentality. I don't know. But going back to this stuff here, I mean the Conservatives on 121, their worst result in a long time, but they will make up the opposition parties. They have more than enough to do that, and people were thinking the Conservatives might be bumped into third place. That didn't pan out. The Lib Dems on 72, which is not bad. The SNP one was the big one. I think that their result was awful, was really really bad. And I don't know where the party go from there. I think I'm gonna look for Reform got 5 or 6, I believe. Let me check quickly. Can't remember off the top of my head. Reform are on 5, yes. Sinn Féin are 7, to be fair, which is kind of funny. That they've got more seats than Reform. We only lost 1% of our votes. Yeah, well, that's how first past the post works, though, isn't it? It's literally the equivalent of winning every game in the season 1-0. You're plus 38 in goal difference, but you're up massively on points. That's all they did. Is they won each constituency with a small amount of votes. And that's what propels you to victory at the end of the day. Other teams can have higher goal differences, but it doesn't matter. Reform got 5 seats. They're calling themselves the Fab 5. We should call them the Frightful 5. The Fash 5. That's what we should call them. Here, look. There we go. Got you beat there. I'm way good at nicknames because I can't remember people's names, so I have to come up with good nicknames so I can remember them. You can call them the Fashtastic 5 or the Fascistic 5. It's really up to you. The Fash 5. But yeah, this one's big. I think for Scottish independence, I think them losing this much. I think in the Holyrood election, I think they might take a beating as well. But I think once people in Scotland see Labour austerity, they're not going to be impressed. because Labour haven't. When we look at the facts, right, and I know people get mad about this when you talk about the stuff Labour aren't going to do and all this kind of stuff, right? We'll talk about what they haven't committed to doing. Haven't committed to getting rid of the bedroom tax. The Netherlands are through. Did they beat Turkey? What? I checked, they were 1-0 down. 2-1, yeah, they did it. Crazy. My brother thought they'll go through. Stefan de Verge and Mulder. Don't know how to pronounce his name, Dutch. Yeah, England versus the Netherlands. That should be a banger game, to be fair. I thought Van Gaal was still in charge, but apparently it's Ronald Koeman, which is upsetting, because I could have said Louis Van Gaal's army. Louis Van Gaal's army. I miss that. I miss that guy so much. I miss Van Gaal. Let me see if I can find it. So I can find it. There it is.
The captains came to me and said, the dressing room is flat. We want to say that to you because we want to help you. And then I have paid so I go to the dressing room. And then we have discussed a lot of aspects. These experts are written, or some written that, like my friend. Now the fans are shouting every week, Louis van Gaal's army!
So much better when he says it.
Louis van Gaal's army! So also the fans are very satisfied with Louis van Gaal. And my players are also satisfied.
I wish he was still managing the Dutch team. He's just so funny. It's just so good. Honestly, I do miss him. I know there's something about Dutch people. There's something different about them, like something unique about Dutch people. It's the way they speak English. I think it's just the accent is different. You know, the way they speak English is almost perfect. You know, their English, their ability to speak English is better than mine. Hands down, 100%. Even though it's the second language, but it's just the way certain words are pronounced and like the way they speak, like that Louis van Gaal, the way he speaks there is it's just something really funny about it. Like not in a mean way, but in an endearing way. I don't know. I've been pushing the reform crowd over the fascist. What? Yeah, they're straight fash. Turks had about 3 close ones at the end. Damn. But yeah, against the Netherlands should be interesting, given that they have underperformed a lot. Evening, they have underperformed a lot, but they were third in their group. If they win it, it does go to show you just getting out of the group is the important thing at that point. You just cook everyone else on the way up. But they're on the easy side of the draw. England versus Netherlands is a big game. It's a big game. But yeah, enough about football before I lose the audience. And just a quick one to the audience. Super chats are available and memberships if you'd be so kind. I see a lot of Kai's in the chat because Kai's probably the best icon I have. I might get some new ones. I might get a Yuso Fudo or something like that. His birthday is tomorrow. Mine is today. You'll have to see it. COVID hospital admissions in Scotland exceed last winter. They do have issues. England weren't great. Sorry, I know that. You know, you don't have to tell me. I watched it. I was there. It was not good at all, honestly. This person thinks that the Lib Dems might become the official opposition next time around, when this is the worst result for the Conservatives in like a century. Yeah, the only way is up really for them. The only thing they've got to fear is Reform eating into their vote. Because Reform are the big question mark in this next election. Win is a win, and England didn't choke on penalties. Yeah, to be fair, that's true. We've got this. Corbyn will call on Keir Starmer today to immediately end arms to Israel and recognise the state of Palestine. Obviously, Labour claimed they would recognise the state of Palestine, and they said they would review the legal advice regarding the sale of weapons to Israel. So let's see if that's actually going to happen. There's no excuses now. Oops, I was meant to move this one to the end, but we might as well cover it now. The how to deal with reform. Do you know what? Actually, let's move this actually into the reform segment. I'll move this for now, but we might as well discuss it here.
And how is it? And why don't you ask yourselves in Dublin a question? Why did you fight the British? Why did Irish nationalists fight the British for 500 years? 500 often very bloody, difficult years until the 1920s. What was the point of it if you're now governed by European commissioners?
I think people will
That's
be
a debate,
entertained,
perhaps.
Nigel, to hear you
and that
talking
may be too
about
inconvenient for all of you in Dublin. Oh, I'm sure.
This man thinks he's cooking.
I know that you
He actually thinks he's doing something there.
apologised for the birthday greeting which you delivered in the last couple of days, but I want people to see just how much you know about the history and culture on this island.
Now, it's a bit early in the day, so all I've got actually is coffee, but I hope you enjoy a few pints with the lads tonight. Up the Ra!
Up the Ra, Nigel. I mean,
Plus, he's silent. What's he got to say? Nothing.
I know that you said...
Hope that 50 quid was worth it, pal.
Sorry, I know you get 87 quid. It's entirely within your rights to do that. But come on, don't try and lecture the Irish people about the culture and history and precarious nature of peace on this island. You haven't got a clue.
Man, that was... Honestly, that was brutal. That is under the column of things you love to see, and it was great. I will try and find that interview, Kieran, at some point. See, Ryan, Turbady, and Farage. Let's see. Ask the Campbell here. The Late Late Show. Is it this?
Of course, we saw this in Ireland, didn't we? We saw the Irish people vote no to the Lisbon Treaty. And
Is it this? I'm not going to search for it. This is a good chat, I don't know. Farage came to Ireland with our exit and brought 250 with him. 300 turned up. Bought 250 what?
Shit, Nigel.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I don't think it's as good. I don't think that's anywhere near as good. Anyways, this from Rigby questioning Starmer about his first 100 days.
A massive
I got you.
majority, but your vote share is quite low. It's much lower in terms of voter support than Blair in 1997. You talk about the mood of the country. I think you have some ideas as to why. Can you give us one concrete thing that you will promise voters you will deliver in your first 100 days to make them believe the change?
Thank you, Darian de Staff, for the super sticker. With this, he has gotten rid of the Rwanda scheme. Like, he's actually done something. Love seeing Farage get owned, don't we all? Yeah, I'll never get over the guy who said he got kicked by a horse.
Message, and if you'd indulge us, millions of people saw that exit poll drop. Some of them gasped. What was your emotion when you saw it?
Why don't just ask one question at a time?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Look, the thing that's changed already is the mindset of government. It's a mindset.
It's a dumb question. Ask the first one is, what are you going to get done in 100 days? And the second question is, what was your reaction for the exit poll?
Of service, of country first, party second. That's not a slogan. That is the test for all of our decisions. So when submissions come to me from the Cabinet, when I've had to take decisions, which I've already had to, of course, the principle is country first, party second, and that's the driving principle. So that change has already happened. I set out before the election what our first steps will be. We've started work on those first steps.
Which are what?
You've seen where Streeting made clear the steps he's already taking to resolve some of the issues that have been unresolved for some time, with a degree of raw honesty as well as to the state of being. So that's the mandate. That's
We'll get that in a bit. I think this is dumb, what she's asking. It was a stupid question. Well, the first bit of the question was fine, but he's not answered it. It's pointless. This I found interesting. This is the person who's going to be there helping out with the prison system. So James Timpson. Timpson's a very interesting company for multiple reasons.
We're addicted to sentencing. We're addicted to punishment. So many of the people who are in prison, in my view, shouldn't be there. A lot should, but a lot shouldn't. And they're there for far too long.
So just for context, this is the guy they brought in. And this is Starmer kind of echoing his words, saying he wants to reduce the number of people going to prison through renewed efforts to cut reoffending. In his first press conference, Starmer added, too many people find themselves back in jail relatively quickly. after being sent there. He added that intervening to prevent young people committing knife crime would be an early priority for his government. There would be no overnight solution to prison overcrowding. We've got too many prisoners, not enough prisons. It comes after he appointed a businessman as his prime minister, as his prisons minister, who has previously said only a third of prisoners should be there. So that's James Timpson.
Far too long, and that's just getting worse and worse. I meet people in prison regularly who are serving sentences longer than they've ever been alive for already, and I just think it's just this is common sense being ignored, evidence being ignored, because there is this sentiment around punish and punish.
How would you change that?
I would just look at the evidence. So let me give you an example in Holland, which I know lots of people like to use the Dutch as an example. They've shut half their prisons, not because people are less naughty in Holland, it's because they've got a different way of sentencing, which is community sentencing. So people can stay at home, keep their jobs, keep their homes, keep reading their kids bedtime stories. And it means that they're far less likely to commit crime again.
Is he talking about house arrest here? That sounds like house arrest, like a curfew kind of system. Ankle tags, which I guess that would be way cheaper than putting people up in prison cells.
I mean, it's a cultural thing around punishment, isn't it? That we are kind of stuck in a sort of a Victorian mindset.
Yeah.
In a way, you've done something wrong, therefore you must pay the price.
Yeah, and a custodial sentence is not always the right thing for people. I mean, in very crude terms, and you'll get people who completely disagree with me on this, we have 85,000 people in prison. It's going to go up to 100,000 pretty soon. A third of them should definitely be there. There's another third in the middle, which probably shouldn't be there, but they need some other kind of state support. A lot of them have got massive mental health issues. They've been in prison, in and out of prison all their lives. And then there's another third, and there's a large proportion of women. Prison is a disaster for them because they're just putting them back in the offending cycle.
And given how many ex-offenders are working for you, I mean, what have you discovered about who goes back to offending? What proportion of those people end up stealing from you?
Very low.
Or from someone else?
Yeah, very, very low. But when I first started, it was higher because I was still working it out. So in crude terms now, we don't recruit men under the age of 25 from prison because they're just not mature enough. And from our experience, they won't stay in off.
So this is a person who's already got a scheme in place. So he's an interesting pick. He's definitely sounds like a good pick. Their company, they did, I think, a lot of good stuff during COVID. Timpson, I think they basically let staff stay at home with full pay. He's an interesting dude, honestly, James Timpson.
And they'll get back into their old ways. But female offenders from 19, absolutely fine. But if I recruit someone from prison, they're more honest, stay with me longer, and more loyal, and more likely to get promoted. I don't know if you've ever been into a prison, but when you walk around, you need people who've just got that. They get that point in life where they just want a job and they don't want to disappoint their family again. They've got kids on the way. They've got somewhere to live, family and stuff.
How would you go about that sort of cultural change to try and change the way people think about prison?
I think we need a government that's brave. I think we need a government that's prepared to take the...
When prisons are private, you get more prisoners to finance. That is true. That's the American model. Has the highest prison pop per capita in the world and the longest prison history of privatization. That's true. In America, you can make good money from running a prison. He's very well respected. They cleaned a suit free of charge for me because I was... Yeah, they are cool, honestly. From what I've heard, I've not heard anyone say anything bad about the Timpson company. I think there's only one experience I had there that was a bit weird. I wasn't a big fan of, but the many times I have gone to the branches, they've been great. Honestly, the staff are great. So yeah, I don't really have an issue with that. I think he seems like a decent guy. And he could be in another world he could have been a Tory. He's runs a big business. He could have become a prat, but no, he's not. He's not really that seemingly that arrogant. He seems like a decent guy. He wants to help people, and he seems to be running a scheme to help people who are former prisoners. It's good stuff. Honestly. So got some respect, yeah. But the American system is the big problem. You have different models, even across Europe. You got the Scandinavian model, I guess the Dutch model here, the British model, which I think is based in Victorian England, more crime punishment rather than rehabilitation. Now everything Starmer's going to do will be bad. I mean, I never said it was. I don't think at any point I said it was. Everything Starmer was going to do was going to be bad. I just said that he's going to do a lot of mid things that are not going to be going anywhere near far enough, and that's where the Green Party can hopefully put pressure on him. But I never said everything Starmer's going to do is bad. I'll tell you what is bad: keeping the 2-child gap. This policy right here, it potentially is good, but rehabilitation costs money, and so the question is, are they going to put the money up to fund these sorts of schemes? That's the question. Because talking like you want to rehabilitate people is one thing, putting the money up in order to build centres where people can maybe learn skills and fix them, try and help with their mental health problems, get the medication and things that they need in order to deal with it, because prison isn't always the right place for people that have certain issues. It can be the case that some people aren't malicious, that they've gone down a wrong path or just had a very bad day on certain days, a very bad week, month or year, and it's led them to circumstances where they've taken actions where they wouldn't have taken if their lives were more stable. So I'm happy with this so long as we see results. This is a lot of talk. In the US, a prison sentence stays with you for life. It leads to a never-ending cycle of people that can't escape. Yeah, if it's on your record forever, you can't get a stable job. You can't rehabilitate your life. The American prison system is not built for rehabilitation. It's built for reoffending. That's what they want. So, you got the Prison Governors Association, which represents 95% of prison governors in England, warning that jails were due to run out of space within days. Tory ex-Justice Secretary Alex Chalk first announced plans to release prisoners early in October 23. And we've had big problems with the prison system before, where certain violent criminals were let out when they shouldn't have been. There was a lady who was murdered by one of these prisoners. So there urgently needs to be reform of the prison system. So this podcast episode was in February. That's interesting because Christian didn't date it. So Keir appointed him as a member of the House of Lords, allowing him to take up a post as Prisons Minister at the Ministry of Justice. And one could argue one of the few good things that that Sunak did was by making David Cameron a Lord and putting him in the cabinet. It meant that it kind of sets a precedent that you can do this kind of stuff. But I think Boris Johnson actually did this with an education secretary had. You give them a peerage so you can get them in the cabinet. So it's actually, one of the few good things I guess Johnson and Sunak did, because it enables you to get in people with actual expertise into certain roles in cabinet. People who don't necessarily want to be politicians. They can come in via the Lords, and you can have them in temporarily in order to enact certain changes. He's had too many people in prison far too long. I think we covered the full clip. Yeah, we did. Starmer did not offer a view on whether he agreed with those estimates, but he added, "We do need to be clear about the way in which we use prisons. For so many people who come out of prison, they're back in prison relatively quickly. That's a massive problem we have in this country that we do need to break." He said his party wanted to cut knife crime in particular and cited his plan to set up youth clubs, which again is good, but are they going to put the money up to fund these things properly? That's the question. Because of the fiscal rules. This is why I have doubts about Labour, because they can talk and say all of this stuff, but where are they getting the money to fund them? The only way they could do this stuff without really increasing borrowing in the short term is through PFI contracts, and that's the thing I fear, because those contracts are awful, absolutely awful. See, the 3 strikes and you're out policy has ensured long-term sentences. Are you talking about the 3? If you get 3 felonies, you're done. People are spending decades in prison for doing nothing. The levels of petty drug crimes in America is quite high. What he's saying about the prison works out very cheap. Building and running a prison costs a lot of money. True. 2 worries equals low voter turnout and reform. Braidman-led Tories in opposition during a seemingly financial crisis in the UK, which can possibly happen, to be honest. UK is following USA reoffending rate 96%. 96, that's incredibly high. Essentially, you're saying 9 in 10 people reoffending. Boris Johnson put Zach Goldsmith in the Lord so he could be an environment minister. Goldsmith's just been elected. Oh, interesting. So maybe it started with Goldsmith. There was another lady he did the same thing with where I can't remember her name. She was a minister under David Cameron. She was like an education minister. She always looked confused. I can't remember her name. No, not felony, petty crimes. Right, got you. But yeah, this could be good. NMP. This could actually be good. Honestly. But we have to wait and see on it, because at the end of the day, Rachel Reeves can talk big, saying the cost to the taxpayer of COVID fraud is estimated 7.2 billion. Every cheque signed by Rishi Sunak will appoint a COVID corruption commissioner and his squad of investigators to take the fraudsters to court. We want that money back. But the thing is, with some of these contracts, you can talk big on this stuff, right? From what I've seen with some of the contracts, they've claimed, and obviously they are going to claim this, that what they gave the government in terms of PPE was what the government asked for in the contracts. I don't know how far they're going to get with this. They've made Michelle Mone a martyr for this. They made Michelle Mone a martyr for the COVID fraud. The broader question is, how many people can they actually go after justifiably? Because there are some very bizarre names that borrowed money, or not borrowed money, that took money from these contracts. So it should be interesting to see how feasible this is. I'll be honest, but I'm not sure how thing is. You've got Joe Biden talking to Starmer.
Situation room, getting to connect Prime Minister Starmer to President Biden. You are now connected to Air Force One.
Okay, thank you. We're going to discuss this. This is just an annoyance of mine, right? Why do they film all of this stuff on shaky cams? Why do they just get a tripod? Can the country not afford a tripod for the Prime Minister?
Mr. Prime Minister, congratulations. What a hell of a victory. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's been a long night and day. I've been busy appointing my cabinet during the course of this afternoon. So thank you very much for your congratulations. And fortuitously, we will see each other next week. I'm very much looking forward to seeing you in Washington and having the opportunity, obviously, to sit down properly.
I'm looking forward to it as well. There's no doubt that under your leadership, our two countries are going to continue our special relationship. We're working together just about every issue, supporting Ukraine, managing the competition with China.
Well, we covered that first clip. It was pretty bad.
Advancing cooperation.
The 1.6 billion PE they just write off could not be used because it was transported to the UK in the wrong way. It was put in the wrong type of shipping things. I think with the talking big on this stuff, I can't see it happening. I think this is tough talk. I'll wait for results.
To welcome you to the cabinet, our first meeting, and
seriously, guys, can we not afford a tripod for the leader of this country? Like, everything looks like the thick of it.
It's the honour and privilege of my life.
Did they just watch the episode of the of The Office and realise that's what we want for the camera, for the camera work? Why start talking to Joe Biden AI? Does every PM go to the US after the first? I think there's a NATO summit coming up, so I think that's why they're going to meet.
To be invited by the King, His Majesty the King yesterday, to form a government and to form the Labour government of 2024. And now we hold our first cabinet meeting. So I welcome you to it. We have a huge amount of work to do. So now we get on with our work.
That was a very awkward pause there. I don't know. It's just the way the camera work here is, and this is fine. Our very first meeting, we've got a lot of work to do. I'd like to see him go on with it. He's actually done something good here, in terms of getting rid of the Rwanda policy.
Look, the Rwanda scheme was dead and buried before it started. It's never been a deterrent. Look at the numbers that have come over in the first 6 and a bit months of this year. They're record numbers. That is the problem that we are inheriting. It has never acted as a deterrent, almost the opposite, because everybody has worked out, particularly the gangs that run this, that the chance of ever going to Rwanda was so slim, less than 1%, that it was never a deterrent. The chances were of not going and not being processed and staying here, therefore, in paid-for accommodation for a very, very long time. It's had the complete opposite effect. And I'm not prepared to continue with gimmicks that don't act as a deterrent.
I'm glad he's got rid of this. This is good. Like, people celebrating it, saying, Labour and the Tories, people said they're the same. Me. Sunak wasn't even a fan of this policy. The chance that he knew this policy wouldn't get off the ground, he used it as an election tool. So, I don't... If this is how low the bar is for people, then fair enough. If this is it, if you're happy with keeping things like the 2-child cap, etc., and your bar is he got rid of the Rwanda scheme, then fair enough, man. You can smoke the Big Maj pack at that point, because I'm not dealing with you. The right-wing press have been attacking Rayner. They're objecting to her suit she wore going to number 10. Apparently cost £500. I mean, they attacked her over having Apple AirPods. I mean, those were subsidised by the taxpayer, though, so I can kind of see why people might get annoyed about that. But generally, like, I don't care. No one should care that much. If you're mad that she spent £600, £500-600 or £500 on a dress or whatever, like, MPs get paid enough where they can do that. As long as she's not claiming it on expense, I don't care. Rachel Reeves, a big challenge, finding $10 billion to pay for immediate decisions on public sector pay, fuel duty, NHS and prison funding, then another $20 billion in the long term. That's where the IFS stuff come in. The Chancellor could do a 1-year rollover spending review to fudge it. I don't know what that means. But in the short term, it's not looking good about what she's going to do. I mean, like, public sector pay needs to go up. It's pretty bad. It's really bad, honestly. If she spent her money on it, who cares? Casper Akis was calling you out, so I'd have a look at the chat, to be honest with you. But with this stuff, right-wing press is seriously losing influence. Yeah, it's because they're a joke, that's why. They're a joke. If you do your job properly, the right-wing press will lose more and more influence, because they have nothing to attack you on. That's what I want from Labour, to make it so the right-wing press have to put out the most unhinged articles, because they have nothing to really get Labour on. The economy's doing good, especially for the average person. That's what I'd want to see. But this stuff is daunting. And we got Big Wes, who just about won his seat from an independent, a challenge anyways, talking about the NHS being broken.
When we said during the election campaign that the NHS was going through the biggest crisis in its history, we meant it. When we said that patients...
It's just the editorial decisions are so weird. Like, why is he not facing the camera? I don't get it. Maybe I'm nitpicking too much here, but it's just bizarre the choices being made here.
Being failed on a daily basis. It wasn't political rhetoric.
He's reading off a teleprompter. Like, just get a teleprompter with the camera.
But the daily reality faced by millions. Previous governments have not been willing to admit these simple facts. But in order to cure an illness...
He's so bad at reading, it just reminds me of Graham Hughes. He's just so bad at reading off the teleprompter.
You must first diagnose it. This government will be honest about the challenges facing our country and serious about tackling them. From today, the policy of this department is that the NHS is broken. That is the experience of patients who are not receiving the care they deserve, and of the staff working in the NHS who can see that, despite giving their best, this is not good enough. When I was diagnosed with kidney cancer, the NHS saved my life. Today, I can begin to repay that debt by saving our NHS.
How are you going to do it, big dog? Let's hear it. Let's hear the glorious strategy.
I've just spoken over the phone with the BMA Junior Doctors Committee, and I can announce that talks to end their industrial action will begin next week. We promised during the campaign that we would begin negotiations as a matter of urgency, and that is what we...
I think they said they would stop the strikes by negotiation, so let's see how that goes.
...are doing. This government has received a mandate from millions of voters for change and reform of the NHS, so it can be there for us when we need it once again. It will take time. We never pretended that the NHS could be fixed overnight.
It's true, you never really pretended the NHS could be fixed at all, to be fair.
And it will take a team effort.
Facing the camera would make him look like Jeffrey Taylor. That's a bit mean, that is. I don't think that's true. I don't get some of the decisions they're making here. Like I said, my takes will look a bit unhinged, based on the fact that I'm not criticising them on policy, which is kind of the thing that I pride myself on most, but it just looks weird.
It will be the mission of my department.
There's no substance here.
Every member of this government and the 1.4 million people who work in the NHS to turn our health service around. We have done this before. When we were last in office, we worked hand in hand with NHS staff to deliver the shortest waits and highest patient satisfaction in history.
That is true. The NHS was one of the best run healthcare services in the world back then.
We did it before, and together we will do it again.
You know, back then you had a booming economy, or an economy on the rise, and you didn't have this nightmare here. So there's no substance here. There's no methodology here. Even how they're going to deal with the strikes, like it's going to have to be a pay increase. They want pay to be up there with the pay that they've lost basically over the last 7 years. Obviously, they know they're not going to get that. It's a negotiating position, but I don't know how much Labour are going to offer them, and especially when it's combined with this, because Reeves is going to be quite stingy with the money. I did want to discuss this as well.
For all the Tory claims about being tough on benefits, over the next 5 years, there will be 600,000 more people on sickness and disability benefits, and these benefits will cost an extra £33 billion. That is more than our current day-to-day expenditure on defence. The Office for Budget Responsibility...
Did they not rehearse these speeches before they give them?
...says the sustained rise in health-related worklessness is holding back growth and living standards while putting ever greater pressure on the public finances. Yet all we get from the Tories is more of the same. More of the same...
I think I know what she's... I can see what she's trying to say about this. She's going to say, we need to get people off sick leave and by fixing up the NHS and getting down the wait times. It's just the delivery is not great. That's one of the things I don't like about certain politicians. The last government offered doctors 20% more. They didn't offer 20+% in pay, did they? For the junior doctors, are you sure about that, QA?
Has begun.
This is about Ridge reflecting on the difficult task Labour have.
The new Prime Minister won a landslide. He's now promising national renewal. This afternoon, he's set to work appointing his new cabinet with a majority which should provide him with a political blank cheque. But is this, in reality, the loveless landslide?
Normal doctors, not... okay, that makes sense.
Turnout is the lowest for 2 decades, and the contradictions of our voting system have again been laid bare. Only 1 in 3 voters chose Labour, and its overall share of the vote has barely changed since Jeremy Corbyn's crushing defeat in 2019. One thing, though, is for certain. People wanted the Conservatives out. Rishi Sunak...
Liz Kendall is a vile person.
...minutes before standing down, spoke of the public's anger and disappointment.
The hell's going on with the audio?
Turnout is the lowest for... One thing, though, is for certain. People wanted the Conservatives out. Rishi Sunak, minutes before standing down, spoke of the public's anger and disappointment since... Minutes before standing...
Audio goes funky, that's a bit weird. Has anyone noticed it in the comments? No. Strange.
Down, spoke of the public's anger and disappointment with his party. Despite some apocalyptic predictions, though, they...
God damn it.
Well, inside Downing Street, to the Conservative... Despite some apocalyptic predictions, though, they remain the official opposition. The Conservatives now find themselves at a crossroads. 2 parties benefited hugely from that anger and disappointment.
Okay, this is all fine. Let's go back to the actual meat of the video.
Longer prioritising independence.
Wait, what?
5 seats. As for the state of the wider United Kingdom, Scotland's place within it appears stronger tonight. The SNP virtually collapsed, its leader John Swinney admitting that Scottish voters are no longer prioritising independence.
Maybe they're prioritising the cost of living more.
But as one
it's the quality of it that's the problem. Like, it just the weird, her voice just changed.
Referendum moves perhaps further away. In Northern Ireland, a vote on Irish unity could be closer. Sinn Féin won the most seats at Westminster for the first time. And we also, of course, witnessed the night of the Gaza independence. Labour position on the war in the Middle East has cost it at least 5 seats. And some big names in Kastama's party were also nearly toppled. Now, we often hear about the importance of parliamentary arithmetic, and Labour's sizable majority should make governing easier than Keir Starmer's recent predecessors in number 10. But one thing is clear. Keir Starmer's promise of national renewal will not be an easy one to deliver, particularly.
I think you're going to get a lot of MPs, it's going to be very factional, just like you had the Northern Research Group and the ERG and all of these groups. I think we're going to see that kind of pop up a bit in Labour. I think that's because we're going to see, because a lot of new MPs there are going to be desperate to keep their seats.
Of course, with the inheritance that he has. Elections, though, of course, they're really all about the numbers. And just over 23 hours after the polls closed, the results are pretty much all in. We are waiting. The Conservatives are on 100 and...
Yeah, this one's not worth covering. Sorry, guys. I need to watch some of these more, but you think they'd be good. This is probably the most embarrassing clip I've seen from a journalist.
Deputy Prime Minister, how does that feel? How does that feel, Deputy Prime Minister? Can I just say, if I may, I've never seen
I really hope the level of journalism is not going to be this for the next few years. Just client journalism.
Deputy Prime Minister with the phone strap. I mean, that sort of signifies to me a new era, right? It's just a different...
A new era of what?
Type of politician in number 10. So I actually think I need a phone strap myself. But the Deputy Prime Minister in there, Angela...
Don't you have pockets? You have a suit jacket on. Does your suit jacket not have pockets?
Lorena, she will be doing a big housing announcement, I think, in the coming days.
I don't know, maybe it's a dude thing, but like, the phone strap's a big deal. Don't you have a handbag for that? I don't get it. But this more important stuff here.
We know that we couldn't do what we want to do to this country without being in power. And we have, had too long in opposition. I've been both in government and opposition, and I know how miserable it is when I'm visiting my constituents, seeing the problems that they're facing and not really having the traction to deal with it.
Well, now you got the traction. Now there's no excuses now. There's no excuse.
We were not in government. So getting into government in the first place...
Well, now Labour released a private poll that Gove did for the Union, or the report on Brexit, or the report on Russia. They're going to say most of those out of date. They might do the Russia one. Excuse me, but I think they're not going to do the Brexit one or the Union one.
This is absolutely...
What are the government's pledges? It's like get the high sustained growth in the G7 and stuff like that. It's stuff that they're not going to be able to achieve.
Vital to getting anything.
Some of them anyways.
But is there any jeopardy for you because of that vote?
There will be if we don't deliver on what we promised. And so it is about making sure those promises are realistic and getting delivery in place. And look, I've spent a long time looking at delivery in government, and I know the ideas can be great, whether you agree with them or not, but people have policies they love, and then delivery is the challenge, and that's really where Keir Starmer's
the big grow button
missions and his plans to get delivery across the line. People like Pat McFadden really is key players
and
in this will help with that.
So they know they have to deliver on what they promise, but I don't think what they're promising is enough. I don't think it's going to be enough for change. And this from Theo Ashwood talking about this kind of stuff.
Be able to win a second term unless he can deliver in the first term, and unless people find their lives when we get to sort of 2028, 2029 are materially better than they are now, it's going to be.
They do have fake pockets. Take it from a trans man. Went from no pockets to a surplus. But doesn't she have like a handbag she put a phone in? Like, you need a phone strap, a specific... that's the thing I don't get. It's just weird. The new Secretary of State was meeting the First and Deputy First Ministers. That's nice. Was it... Who is the Deputy First Minister now? Because it was Donaldson, right? But obviously he's got legal troubles, to put it lightly. Large part of the problem is the things that would actually help improve the things in the UK. We've already said no, or it's not the right time. That's true. That's the main problem.
It'll be very difficult to defeat Nigel Farage. My main takeaway from
Harris and Starmer have been making You mean Kamala Harris?
The past 24 hours is that Keir Starmer, on the surface, has secured a historic landslide for Labour. It's not quite Tony Blair, but it's very, very close. And if you look at it, if you look at the result, you would think initially that it is only a good thing for Labour that he is
tactical vest, but I don't know. It just looks silly. It sounds silly. A new era of politics because she has a phone strap. It means she means business. I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Got this sizable majority. However, I don't think you have to look very far beneath the bonnet, underneath the bonnet, to see that there are some problems in store. And a lot of people on the left have been dismissing this, saying now that Labour have 5 years to govern and they can get on with it and they don't have to worry about opinion polls and they don't have to worry about Nigel Farage and the fact that he actually secured often 3 times the vote share that he got in
2019 Harris and PM Start. Right, okay.
2019 in Labour seats. But I think...
Didn't realise you guys got a replacement already, because I know Varadkar went, but I haven't followed it closely at all.
That Keir Starmer does, because if you look at the mess the country's in, Keir Starmer has been focused, and he talked repeatedly during the election campaign about doing 2 terms. It was a 10-year project, and he's not going to be able to, given where we are, the country is financially, he's not going to be able to win a second term unless he can deliver in the first term. And unless people find their lives, when we get to sort of 2028, 2029, are materially better than they are now, it's going to be very difficult to defeat Nigel Farage. I completely agree with your point that
I think, this point is the key point here, because it doesn't matter, even if you deliver your goals right. The G7 one, they're not going to get. But if you deliver, growth and whatever, if people don't feel the difference, they ain't going to care. If you get 2% GDP growth and people don't feel the difference, they don't care. In America, their economy has grown, but are people feeling the difference? No, not fully. They're still complaining about stuff. They're still complaining about gas prices and food prices and things like that. They're not feeling the difference. That's what politics is. It's an emotional game. This is what a lot of the logic people don't get when it comes to politics. This is one of the things where, when I spoke to Richard, I can't remember his surname, of the Rejoin EU party, and I said to him that clearly, freedom of movement, there's a logical argument you can make for it, but there's also an emotional argument that James Holmes has gifted 1 membership. Thank you, James Holmes. Thank you, appreciate that. Barry Brown, you are gifted the membership by James Holmes, and you have picked the Jack Atlas icon. That is an excellent choice. To be honest, I'm kind of cheered by Starmer's immediate thing on prisons. Isn't particularly a reform vote, however, it's just a decent... Yeah, I agree. I think it depends on, is he going to put the money for these hubs? Is he going to put the money up for these hubs? Is he going to put the money up for rehabilitation? Because it's okay to say one thing, right? What you say is one thing. What you do is another thing. If you don't put the money in for these hubs, it doesn't mean anything. That's the key point I have, because when you look at what they've said, they've talked about the fiscal rules. That they have to find money from somewhere, right? Because they're not going to increase borrowing. So what that means is they're going to have to find the money from somewhere in order to fund public sector pay rises, which are on the horizon. Things like that. That's what's going to happen. Disorientated. I am a government that might not be... I am what? A government that might not let us die. What? But point being is that people need to feel the difference. If people don't feel like their lives have been improved, then there's going to be problems. You can talk about statistics, you can talk about GDP growth, wages going up, and etc., etc. But if people don't feel like their lives have gotten better, they won't care. I'll tell you how people feel about it. This is what they'll say to you.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care. Let me tell you, we don't care. Jerry.
That's what they'll say to you. I'll play it again.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care. Let me tell you.
I need to get some Stephen A. Smith gifs in the old soundboard. But that's the point. Is it doesn't matter if you do get some, even a decent amount of GDP growth. Like, if people don't feel the difference, they're not going to care. See, a wise man once said on this channel, it's oh, don't start. Don't give me PTSD from that. That's not very nice. That's not very nice. But I'll tell you, I'd have been embarrassed of that guy if I was him. I'll be honest. So yeah, I get PTSD when I think of that debate. I'll be honest. They're going to do off the balance sheets improvements. The only way they could do that is through PFI. And I tell you, PFI is a nightmare. So, and I really don't want to see that. Their probability is still melting down. The wallpaper carry got to see how much they get back for the scrap coal. Do you reckon? I reckon Sunak got rid of that stuff, to be honest. I reckon Sunak got rid of that stuff. Bowler Hatman sold me his bike so he could buy more Kobe. How does that mean? You guys are mean, honestly. It's just I regret doing that debate more than anything, because I wasted so many hours of time dealing with that clown. I'm 2-0 against him. He tried to come at me on Discord. I clowned him on Discord as well. And it's like, my guy, what are you doing? What are you doing? Honestly.
Are you feeling angry, humiliated? Is that it?
Does this one play? Honestly, I just don't get it. You know, because if I was him, I would have felt angry, and humiliated, because I clowned him twice. It's just sad, but some people don't get it. You know, all they care is this. That's all they're concerned about.
My team, enemy team.
All they see is my team versus the enemy team. Red team good, blue team bad. I support red team to the end. I will fight blue team to the end. That's all they care about.
The Conservative Party doesn't want to tack towards Nigel Farage. You can't out Farage. You can't. That's precisely the point, isn't it?
You can't. Oh man, how long have we been streaming for?
Can't beat him like that. The only way you can beat him is to take him on directly and improve people's lives.
What the? It's a long ass outro, but yeah, he's right. You know, you do need to improve people's lives. That's the key here. Why do you think of Starmer putting experts in the House of Lords? I think it's good. What do I think of it? I think it's good. I've covered it already on the stream. You know, him putting James Timson in there for, you know, as Minister for Prisons is good. I think fundamentally it's a good idea. I think there should be, you know, when they do reform of the House of Lords, if they ever do it, they need to make it a way so they can bring in experts. I wouldn't even mind if he came in as a consultant for the Ministry of Justice regarding prisons, to be honest with you. But I am, if he brings in these kind of experts, if it's not, you know, for mates, I think this is a good short-term fix. I've covered the bit on Timpson before, but what he says here, you know, about, you know, prisoners and trying to help them kind of change their lives, I'm all for this. You know, if you bring in the right people who are genuinely for helping people in society, like this guy here, James Timpson, runs a very big business. Like, there are multiple Timpson branches in the town that I live in. Multiple, you know, there's about 3, maybe 4, right? Just in my town alone. This, you know, he runs a big business. He makes decent money. He doesn't have to be a decent guy. He doesn't have to be a guy who's trying to give back to society. It's nice that he does, and I appreciate that he does. He's trying to help people in prisons. And so 100%, you know, I'm if he's going to bring in this class of expert, I'm 100% on board. You know, in the words of Mbappe, I'll be there no matter what, honestly. Employs prisoners too. Yeah, he does. He does employ prisoners, yeah. And if this is the kind of guy you're going to bring in, or person you're going to bring in, like I said, I'll be there no matter what. I will not have an issue with it, honestly. This is good. Fundamentally, this is good. This is what I want, good policies. And that fundamentally what he's trying to do with prison reform. As long as he puts the money in place, which is the key. As long as the money is there for prison reform in order to change people's lives, in order to actually help people, I'll be there no matter what. That's the thing. That's the thing that people need to understand. It's not about being anti-Starmer. It's about being anti-crap policies. That's what I stand for on the channel. Frost was an expert, apparently. Oh, Lord. This is the kind of, you know, promotion to the House of Lords I don't like, because this man's a complete moron in David Frost. Put this man on ice. He's done. He's cooked. But yeah, you know, it just depends on what you're gonna do. And so yeah, you know, before we get into the idiot portion of the or another idiot portion of the video. You mean allegedly? That's true. Before we get to the idiot portion, memberships are available for £1. Super chats are greatly appreciated. Thanks to the, James Holmes and people who have done super chats, and the super sticker earlier from Darian. You know, try my best to continue on the streams. The Saturday streams are actually really fun to do. So hopefully we'll continue that, as you know, the government changes, but the channel doesn't. It's just, you know, it's just new people to talk about. You know, I did reference this clip here from General Shepherd, which I'll reference again. 1 sec. This one here is one of my favourite speeches from a game. In general, actually. This one here. Well, let me go back.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. Boundaries shift, new players step in, but power always finds a place to rest its head.
And that's true, you know, the more things change, the more they stay the same. We've got a different Prime Minister, a different party in charge, potentially similar policies in certain areas. And, you know, power, you know, the players change. but power always finds a place to rest his head. It's chosen Starmer today, and we should hold him to account when he does bad things, and we should give him credit when he does good things. His team will probably lose a lot of their power too, though. I mean, potentially during the next election, yeah. But we've just finished this one, and so that's the thing to focus on in terms of getting stuff done in this parliament that will be beneficial to people. That's the thing we should be focusing on, in my opinion. So this stuff here, genuinely good. Genuinely, if you need short-term gains in order to make certain things happen, I can respect it. What's going on to happen to Lord KGB? I don't know what's going to happen to him. To be honest with you, I think he's going to stay in post unless they can get him on anything specific. He'll stay there.
Ashcroft's poll, which he released today, and why people changed their voting position, says that the top reason...
Oh, let's go for this one first.
To hear what you make of Lord Frost's assessment there, that actually, the Conservatives need to fight for, not in the congested centre ground, but on what he describes as Conservative principles.
It might not surprise you, but I couldn't disagree more. I mean, all that sort of pandering to the right, to the fringe, to the margins of British politics has delivered Nigel Farage 5 seats.
True.
The seats that have been lost have gone to the Liberal Democrats from abandoning Boris Johnson's very firm commitment to net zero. Seats have gone to Labour, again, from abandoning things like HS2. And when you describe offering tax cuts, of course we all want tax cuts, but not when you do them on magic money, which is what Liz Truss did, and trash the economy. I don't think anyone was more keen on tax cuts than Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak, and indeed Jeremy Hunt, but not by waving a magic wand.
There was no real areas for them to cut. That was the problem they ran into. They could have cut from welfare. That's what they were planning to do originally, but there's not a lot there. You cut from welfare, people are going to die. More people are going to die. You put more pressure on the hospitals and things like that. That was the calculation that they had made. And the thing is, people want better public services. That's the thing most people want. Is there magic money? I thought it was the tree itself that was magic rather than the magic money tree. Yeah, the tree would be magic, and it gives off money. I guess that would be it. Hopefully, he owns the Independent. I thought he owned the. Doesn't he own the Evening Standard as well?
And I think the sad thing about people like
he did nearly restart the troubles on his own. To be fair, I think if Boris Johnson gave him the leeway to do it, he would have done it.
And Suella Braverman is that you held positions of authority where you had your hands on the levers of this country, and you chose to go off and abandon any attempt to run the country in order to have some sort of right-wing fetish about theological disputes.
Well, I totally...
And you destroyed the party and the ill discipline.
It's true, he did. This lot did destroy the party because what they did was they created a voter base that was too big. They abandoned their core voters, the One Nation Tories, and the pensioners and landlords and people like that. And in the end, they left. They either joined the Labour Party, the Lib Dems, or the Reform.
Is what actually led to the defeat.
It was the interest rate rises. I think that's what Ash Sarkar said, and I agree with that. The interest rate rises are one of the things that did them in.
That's what led to the defeat, the ill discipline and this obsession with what happens next and the theology of the right.
To an extent, I agree with them. I think it was more they just cooked the economy.
Some people left the Conservative Party and voted for somebody else was that we didn't seem like people like them and we didn't deliver on what we'd promised to do. We promised to control immigration. We didn't do it. We promised to reduce the tax burden or not increase it. We increased it. That's why people lost trust, and we must get that back.
The interest rates as well, don't forget that.
Back by...
You guys are seen as less favourable on the economy. That's the one thing you had on Labour. And you destroyed it with Liz Truss.
Conservative policies doing the right things.
Equally, the analysis shows that if the Conservative Party had won every seat, I think 98 seats where a Reform were in second place, you still wouldn't have won the election.
No, I agree. It is a comprehensive defeat. And, of course, there are many, many other factors. Labour won it fair and square. I'm not one of these people who says their victory is fragile. They won it fair and square, and we've got to learn the lesson.
I think what you're seeing here from people like him and Braverman is saying that the Tories can't blame outside factors. They have to blame themselves. And that's what's going to try and put them into leadership positions within the Tory party next. Because they're going to take this fake humility approach.
I'd like to see Rishi Sunak stay on for a little while the leadership contest takes place, or do you...
Yeah, I bet you Biden wanted to put him on ice over it. The 2019 Tories were in ideological battle. I mean, it wasn't just the 2019 ones. They've been since 2016, or since John Major, really. Thatcher, they've been fighting with themselves, but really I think it came to a head in 2015 when they were taken over by from 2015 onwards, when Cameron promised that Brexit referendum and the fact that they were taken over by kind of UKIP type voters. That's what did them in the end. This has been going on way longer than 2019. The Tories used to be an elite of honourable gentlemen or dishonourable gentlemen in their own eyes. Nonsense, of course. Yeah, that's true. They saw themselves as the better members of society, ones that had a divine right to rule. Thatcherism led to the ultimate demise. I don't know if it was Thatcherism, or probably actually, yeah. Thatcher was pro-EU. That's probably the one positive you can say about her. I guess the other positive is you can say she's no longer with us.
You think that it's a decision for him if he wants to go away and lick his wounds, and he should be allowed to?
I mean, I'd rather not, to be honest. I think, maybe a short time, until the recess. But to be honest, I think I would rather have a caretaker leader. I agree with those who say we shouldn't be rushing into a new choice, but I also think those who are responsible for the catastrophe need to get off the stage as soon.
I think they need to do a leadership contest pretty urgently, to be honest. And the good thing for Labour is if the Tories have a leadership contest, it will take a lot of the attention away from Labour, and it'll push it back onto the Tories and their failures. Truss was Thatcher 2.0. I think Truss was like something worse than Thatcher in some ways. She was the idiot Thatcher. Thatcher with 2 brain cells instead of how many she had. And this is a battle for the soul of the Conservative Party.
15 years, that's not going to be the case anymore. And actually, given that they only have 120 or so MPs, they're not going to matter as much to the broad political picture, the leadership election.
She was a fan of the economic side of the EU, nothing much else, I think.
That we will see at some...
Her big fear was our goods would get stuck in France. That's one of the reasons why I think she believed she wanted the single market so much, so the goods can be exported easily, because that's, Britain and France are competitors, and so obviously she didn't want our goods to get stuck there. So that's one of the reasons why she pushed it, I think. Is Truss on some kind of watch list? I'd be concerned for her if I doubt she's too stupid to get. I think she's gonna be on the speech circuit. She's gonna make good money. Liz Truss has friends. Are they all imaginary? Possibly.
Point is not going to be as consequential for our lives as the last few have been, and there is a battle. Let's be under no illusion. There is a battle going on right now for the heart and soul of the Conservative Party. I actually think it's a battle that's been playing out since Brexit, but it's
I agree with that.
Definitely going to happen now, which is...
Yeah, they did make a lot of money in the city, and I think she'll be there. Kwasi Kwarteng, I think, had a meeting with people in the city before his disastrous budget, which tells you a lot. He has good connections with them. He'll probably go back there now.
Do the party try and tack back to the centre and win votes back from Labour and some disaffected Tories, then maybe move to Labour or the Liberal Democrats? Or do they tack to the right and look to those votes that they hemorrhaged to the Reform Party, Nigel Farage?
What you're seeing here essentially is what you're seeing in the the Conservative Party is they're being squeezed on the right. So, because the Lib Dems and the Labour Party have taken the centre ground, I think Labour I think arguably they're a centre-right party. Arguably Labour are a centre-right party, and so they've squeezed the Tories, in that area. Reform are a right-wing party, so the Tories are kind of like the Lib Dems in a sense of they're caught in the middle. I don't know which other ones you actually listen to, but you should probably subscribe. That would be great. I'd appreciate that. I've met Kwasi Kwarteng. I'm a tall guy. He's absolutely enormous. He does look it on TV sometimes, I think. Truss will do more Heritage Foundation gigs and conspiracy theory racist stuff. Yeah, that's what she'll do. Like she'll be on the speech circuit. She'll be a big name because she's former Prime Minister, and then she'll keep talking about how I had all these great policies and the deep state sunk me and all of this other nonsense. The woke and the deep state. Thatcher was constantly thrashing the EU domestically. Remember that when I lived there. It's probably one of the things where she like I said, she was a fan of the economic side of the single market, I think. But it also probably played well to the domestic crowd bashing the EU. Remember, there are people here in England that enjoy that kind of stuff, bashing the foreigners.
And look at his policies and maybe try and woo some of his supporters. That is a debate that's playing out now. I'm pretty certain it's a debate that will play out in the leadership election when it comes. What I don't know this morning, despite asking, is...
Listen to an American thing earlier. They described Labour as moderate. That's Democratic National. That's DNC, that is. Moderate would be DNC.
When that leadership election is going to be...
I don't know, but they use very weird terms and different terms to us.
Rishi Sunak hasn't said exactly when he'll stand down, and it's possible
Yes, the people love that
he
show.
stays in the job for a while just to ensure that there's a proper time for that debate to play out in his party.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. I think Westminster might be for you guys what the revolution will be televised is for me. I'll show you guys that in a bit. And this is the infighting in the Tory party.
It's just that they've just had the
left Americans would love to have the UK. Yeah, they would. If the DNC could become the UK Labour Party, they would absolutely love it. But it's just we're in two different places as two different countries. That's the thing. I would love to have the kind of left Scandinavian parties in the UK. Do you know what I mean? Because they'll be way left of what we are now.
This horrendous night, and it's kind of within. Even actually in the run-up, there was all this talk about Nigel Farage and what role he could play with the Tory party. And the Tory party doesn't really know what it is anymore.
UK PSOE branch, what does that mean? The EU has been the office cat in Britain since she joined. That's pretty funny, that is.
Anymore. It hasn't known for ages. And the idea that it's just going to sort of run in this direction to...
This is the most geezer-sounding lady I've ever heard in my life.
To sort of go and just sort of snaffle what it can from reform just seems... bonkers. I mean,
but the collapse of the party is one of the big political stories of our times. So you can see why there might be knee-jerk reactions.
But that's part of the problem is that the reason it's collapsed is because it hasn't known what it's been.
I'll do a standalone video for the fight for the heart of the Tory party, especially with a lot of the One Nation lot gone. There's not many pickings. Like you might have Tom Togg in his hat. Jeremy Hunt, I guess, could do it, but I just can't. I can't imagine when you're the Chancellor of the failed party, the worst loss in the party, I think, in a century. I don't see how you could put your name in the hat to be leader.
So many people within the party itself. There are many politicians that were Tory politicians that couldn't stand half their colleagues because of the different views that they were expressing about Brexit, for example. Ever since the stopper got taken out of the bottle on that issue, they all just started fighting like rats in a sack. And then they didn't really even want to be in the same sort of corridors, the same vote.
It's ironic that Brexit gave them this huge majority. Brexit gave the Tory party a huge majority, right? But it's also been the end of their party. It's kind of wild when you think about it.
Voting lobbies.
Who's the William Hague character now? I don't know. Do you think Farage will drop reform if he gets a chance to lead the Tory? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. That's one I couldn't answer. Because he will be given a much... That's a tough one. That's a tough one. That's what I couldn't answer, QA, I'll be honest. Will Braidman be the next leader? Will Braidman be made leader? I would say it's probably going to be Kemi Badenoch, I'll be honest.
Didn't even want to sit together in the tea rooms. And so there's been this sort of constant battle amongst itself. And then, of course, what does anyone out there think they're voting for when this lot can't get on anyway? Yeah. Completely ungovernable and has such a range of views that they won't coalesce around something simple for people to get.
I mean, Conservative...
It's so over. Jeremy Hunt explicitly ruled himself out of any leadership contest today. That's okay, that's something. Badenoch or Braverman, possibly. I think those two will definitely be there. Sunak's made it clear he considers his duty to stay on post leader, meaning he'll face Starmer in Parliament, so he'll be there until the recess. This clip I found pretty funny. These guys talking about voter reform and things like that. Patel, that's it. That's what I was thinking of. Priti Patel.
Voted for Reform and Tory, and they've got Labour. How is that fair?
Because that's the situation. That's the.
This guy here, Matthew, right? So weird. Like people who voted Green ended up with Labour. People who voted Lib Dem ended up with Labour. If you voted SNP, end up with Labour. You can make the exact same argument.
That's the political.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It should change, isn't it?
That
most people want Tory reform,
well,
and they've got.
That's not even true. What the hell are you talking about? Like, okay, let's have a look. Actually, let's see if this man is correct, right? 2024. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. Vote share, yeah. See, where's the percentages at? So let's see what bro is cooking, right? So you got Labour, you got Reform and the Conservatives. That puts them on what, 40, 38? He's saying, you know, that 38%. Okay, so the Lib Dems, who are more ideologically similar to Labour than anyone else, that, you know, who are ideologically similar to Labour, that puts Labour on much higher than that Reform Conservative coalition. Then you can throw in the Greens and SNP. These are the left parties who are more ideologically similar. Like, his argument makes genuinely no sense. Claire Coutinho, not heard from her. I don't think it'll be her. I don't think she's a big name enough. I don't think anyone who knows who. I don't think many who know who Claire Coutinho is, and I think she'll be too associated with the Sunak campaign.
What you want? It depends.
It is a pro PR argument he's trying to make.
Vote. That's
why he says that, but it's also a dumb argument to make. It's a stupid argument. That's what I'm saying.
For Reform and Tory, and they.
This is what I'm saying. Like, you can be on the right side of things. You could also be a complete idiot.
Because that's the situation. That's the political.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It should change, isn't it?
That
most people want Tory reform, and they've got Labour.
What you want. It
Do you reckon?
Depends what you want.
Am I being trolled here?
It depends. I mean, again, if what you want is another 5 years of Rishi Sunak as Prime Minister, only in this instance with Nigel Farage as his Foreign Secretary or Chancellor, fine. Then vote for reform.
The thing is, Dan,
I believe so. Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, no, it's just for their parliamentary system. So they have a different system to I think a lot of countries where they have their presidential race. It's kind of like America, I guess. They have their parliamentary race and they have their presidency race. These are two different things. So I think what's running is their kind of parliamentary race, where it'll be about like the amount of like whatever their equivalent of MPs would be. It's not about the leader. It's not about the president of the country, I believe. It's not the presidential race. It's more the parliamentary one. It's like kind of House Senate, I think. I think that'd probably be the best way to see it, but I'm not French, so I have no idea. I also don't pay much attention to the French. You see, there was one viewer who was French. She would know.
Thing is, I don't want that. But I don't want that, and yet I can recognise. But I can recognise, Dan, that in terms of how the country voted, the expression that individuals made when they put their crosses in the box, they want Tory reform, and it's
not even true, though.
That's the largest share of the vote.
That is the point. They do not want Tory reform.
Macron. If Macron was a subscriber, he would have not got himself into the mess that he is in. So if you're listening, President Macron, you should have watched my videos, son, because it's not looking good for you, pal. Yeah, me too.
Largest share of the vote. If you combine the left and the right, who got the largest share of the vote?
If you combine the left and the right, it was the left.
But you don't do that.
I know you don't under your system, but that's why I'm trying to advocate for change, Dan. A change that might be more...
This man's moronic.
That's what I'm talking about. You're not advocating change. Under your system, Rishi Sunak would still be Prime Minister.
No, he wouldn't, because you don't have the vote share. What are you talking about? You got 24 plus 14. That's 38. That's not 50%, lad.
That would be a change.
Do they not teach... Are people his age, do they not learn maths? I'm gonna call this the dumbest argument, the dumbest video for PR.
Citizens in.
Speaking of stupidity, this is hilarious.
The principle on which Reform UK exists is that we will put British national interests first, with British citizens' interests first, and immigrants. And I'm an immigrant myself. Immigrants are not British citizens, and to the
I don't know, Chief. I think he's this guy. This is so funny. Like he's willing to put his own rights at stake to placate people that were born here. I guess because I'm technically a British citizen. I was born here. So does that mean I should have more rights than Ben Habibi? Honestly,
principle on which Reform UK exists is that we will put British national interests first.
Is the family whose family?
With British citizens' interests first, and immigrants. And I'm an immigrant myself. Immigrants are not British citizens. And to the extent...
So Ben Habib wants me to have more rights than him, which is great. You'd love to see it. Who is talking? Ben Habib. Ben Habib is talking. Let's see. Habib is detestable. That is true. He is. He's an absolute melon. This is Boris Johnson's 10-step plan to save the Tories, so this should be good, right? So he says, immigration. Starmer's foolishly going to scrap the Rwanda scheme, the only scheme yet devised to beat channel crossing gangs. Pound him on this. Again, that's not going to work, but okay. Housing. Labour governments always build fewer homes than the Tories because they don't like private property and prefer social housing. Hammer away at this and give young people the hope of a home and the most important single reason for voting Tory. I mean, based on what Starmer is saying here, QA, we don't mention the tabs here. I think I've made that clear in previous videos. Hammer away at this. I think given what Labour are saying about house building, they're going to build more houses than the Tories have done because they're trying to change planning. They're planning to reform planning permission. So I don't think that one's going to work. Starmer is going to sneak back into the EU. I wish a politician would, and turn this country into a satrapy of Brussels. I'm not sure what that word means. He will try to make this country subject to EU rules, but with no say in those rules. We're literally subject to EU rules because we want to export to them, which makes us subject to their rules. An anti-democratic abomination. You are pro-EU, pal. You wrote 2 articles. You were pro this anti-democratic abomination. Go critical on this from the outset. Levelling up. Starmer now claims this campaign, but it was our idea and our plan, and you didn't do it. That's the problem. You didn't do levelling up. It's the right thing for the country. Labour needs to be held remorselessly to account over everything from high-speed rail, where we should revert to our 2019 policy, to reversing Labour's shameful anti-nuclear policy. And this is a joke, because he's the guy who literally pulled apart. This is the guy who stopped HS2. This is the guy who stopped HS2. And so this is ridiculous. Crime. Starmer believes in cutting prison sentences, and he sides with Sadiq Khan in opposing stop and search. He's soft. We're tough. We back the police. You also cut the police. There are per capita less police officers now than there were back in 2010, and also the fact that you have a less capable police officers because you're hiring anyone. There was a bloody neo-Nazi who got arrested who joined, I think it was the Met Police. So it's a joke. Net zero is the right idea provided we use it to promote UK green technology and millions of UK private sector jobs. Starmer just seems interested in state control and regulation. Our approach is better. I mean, that's a nothing burger, really. State control, I think, in my opinion, is better so long as they're not complacent. So long as it's not complacent, it's pushed to be the best it can be year on year. Are you letting prisoners out? It depends. It depends on their prison sentence. It depends on what they're being put in prison for. If it's non-violent, non-white collar crimes, then yeah. If it's for like drug possession, I don't care. If it's for intent to deal drugs, then no, I am against that. If they're caught on possession of like low level drugs, I don't care. Tories were not what? Anyways, tax and growth. Starmer is obviously about to put taxes up. When they are already at high levels. Oh, Boris, who put them at high levels? Who was it? Which party put the taxes up? Which one does it? He goes, and when the state does not always spend our money well, oh my God, this is such an own. This is such an own 7. Literally, he was in charge. Who's not spent the money well, Boris? It was you. It was you. You put the taxes up. Starmer and Chancellor Reeves think they can just get away with these unnecessary tax hikes. Don't let them. 0.7 is the biggest self-own I've ever seen in my life. They also want to import, all sorts of new crazy employment rules, such as ethnic pay gap reporting. Oh no, the horror. a ban on contacting colleagues after hours. You know, why should you be able to contact people after hours? You know, if that's your home time, it will boost productivity if you're not disturbing people outside of their work time, so they can actually rest and actually get stuff done. I oppose this stuff ferociously. Public services. Starmer is viscerally opposed to extra private money going into our private services. He's literally not. He's going to do PFI 2.0, so that's not true. He seems to hate both private education and private healthcare. His position is grossly liberal. They've said, you know, I think Wes has said they're going to do more privatisation. Exactly. UK PLC can't function properly if your boss can't call you 9 p.m. on a Saturday or 9 a.m. on a Sunday. Wokery. Starmer wants more mandatory wokery. It's important to be sensitive to people's feelings, but some of this stuff is bonkers and needs to be opposed. Point 9 is he's done this to get to 10 points. Global Britain. There is a danger that traditional pro-Moscow sentiment in the Labour Party will lead to a softening. Bro, you're the one who took Russian money. You're the one who took Russian money. Your party were in charge when Putin annexed Crimea. You cannot make this argument. You literally you kept us as the laundromat of Russia. This stuff he's saying here is so deranged. Genuinely so deranged. 9 is definitely the strongest, most evidence-based point. 100%. 10 also crazy. 7, literally anything after. All of these are just unhinged, honestly. Just wild. We've covered this one already. This one is a good one I want to cover. It's about fishing and Brexit.
There's 120 ships then. Now we're only the one. So it's a shame, really. It's sad.
Get Brexit done. Help the fishing industry.
Who produced this video?
This country will be able to take back control of a massive industry.
Since Brexit, we've lost half the quota. We've had to lose half the crews. And half the earnings have gone now. Some of the guys that was working on board the ships have had to go find other jobs elsewhere with no help from anybody, no government help or anything. If we'd have been kept in the EU, we'd have been a lot better off. But a lot of the fishermen was conned, in my opinion, by the government saying that vote for us and you'll do better with us.
Wokery, I don't know.
They've got nothing now.
I agree with what you're saying that a lot of the fishermen work on into believing Brexit would be good for them. A lot of them, I think, got greedy. A lot of them got greedy and thought that this is our chance to, you know, take more fish from the EU and sell it to the EU effectively. You know, basically take opportunities away from EU-based fishermen. I think that's what they saw.
The EU took all that offers, so we lost all that quota. It's sad, really, because we can't improve.
Fishing is very capital intensive, yeah, and it's very dangerous as well.
The industry anymore, because there's nothing for them to catch. There's no fish for them to catch. The industry is finished now, virtually. There's only the one ship left now in the UK, deep sea trawler. The rest are all fishing in the North Sea for mackerel, herring, and different types of species of fish. 8 to 12% we supplied in the country. Well, them fish shops and hotels and everywhere want supplying, so they will go elsewhere for it. A lot of the fish they're getting now is from Norway, Iceland, Russia. It's coming in from them.
It's kind of weird that we're getting fish from Russia, given all the sanctions.
Places.
That's where, you know, the kind of whitefish are, cod, haddock. They're in the kind of, I think, the Arctic. You know, they're the much colder areas.
But we've lost out. They're taking our market, but we've got nothing.
We used to have access to the Norwegian waterways, but, you know, the government decided to play games with Norway, and they said, fine, you're not going to fish in our waters then, because I think the Nords like the fish they get from around Britain, which is like mackerel and sardines, the more oily fish, which I actually like sardines. So Britain's obsession with whitefish is a bit weird. I grew up in a fishing area. You would have had to have been so stupid to vote for Brexit. You're selling fresh fish to foreign markets. Spy fish from Russia. Is the deep sea trawler even British? I think the one based in Hull is, but I'm not sure about the rest of them.
Round Hull alone, we had hundreds of fish shops, but they've all gone now because they can't afford to run them. Because
I think it did employ less people than the lawnmower industry, to be fair.
The fish now,
even back then,
is that rare and it's more expensive to buy. And this is why we need more quota, so we can help supply them, keep them small fish shops going.
Now that is true.
Since
you know,
Brexit,
if they land the fish, obviously in Britain, it's easy to transport across to, you know, the fish and chip shops and things like that. But obviously Norway have gotten rid of their deal on quotas with us. They had a specific deal they have deals with the fishing quotas with the EU. They would have had a deal with us, but we decided to play about with the Nords, the guys in the longboats and the axes, and they just said no, we're going to walk away, and that's what they did.
We lost the Norwegian quota. We're only in Norwegian waters in 2 weeks, then we have to go up into the Svalbard. The weather conditions in the Svalbard, in my experience over 45 years of fishing...
I mean, I can't imagine sailing in these conditions. It looks incredibly dangerous.
48 years of fishing is you don't go up there in January, February. The weather's too bad. It's best to stay away. But they have to go fishing now because the government's pushed them into it. Let's see, now we're up in the Svalbard in February, and you can see the sea starting to turn to slush. The temperatures was -24 at the time, -25. Before Brexit, we had the quota and we used to stay on the Norwegian coast. Still cold weather, bad weather, but was near to help if we needed help. When we were up in the Svalbard, in the Spitsbergen areas and that, there's no one there to help us if we get into difficulties. My grandson at my retirement party last year, he said, "Grandad, you've inspired me to go to sea."
This is the death of this is the death of British fishing. For an island nation as well, it's just so crazy that you're seeing the death of fishing, considering fishing should be really important to Britain. Eating the fish that should be local to us should be what we do, but that's not what works. That's not the fish typically people eat, and so we're relying on fishing in other countries, really, off other countries' coasts, and we've lost that right because we decided to leave the EU and we decided to play around with Norway. That's what happened. Berlin Foreign Office. We are working with the new UK government to see how the UK can move closer to the EU. The story being broken by the Telegraph, so be warned. I mean, we need to wait and see. Like I said, there are things that the EU might look at improving in order to benefit themselves. But they're not going to give us a sweetheart deal, a special deal. It's going to be based on deals they have with other countries. You have to add in climate change, types of fish disappearing, and others migrating. That's one of the things that is really important, actually, Suzanne. That because of climate change, those kind of those kind of whitefish, they are migrating further north towards Scandinavia, which is causing more problems for the fishermen. Fresh fish are only fresh for 12 to 24 hours. True, but I think they did manage to sort that out back then. But obviously now they can't do it.
And I just turned around and said, "You're not going to sea. There's no future for him. Our fishing industry and all are depleted."
Yeah, I think mackerel's nice, I'll be honest.
And gone virtually. I'm hoping that the next government bring it back to the table and start to fight and get more quota. The fishing industry is at rock bottom now. It's at its end, in my opinion.
I think they're going to have to wait until next year, but Labour are going to have to try and get a deal with Norway on fishing, on the quotas. That's the only thing they can do. I think it's doable. I think they can. It depends on the Nordic government now, because they had a couple of changes, I think, over the last few years. But we're gonna have to wait and see on that one. And this is the final thing we're going to discuss for today, before we go, which is this really banger tweet from Nordin saying, "Making note of all the places where thousands voted reform, so I know not to go there in case I get battered." This is, and obviously you got the Mourinho picture of him writing stuff down, which is obviously a banger tweet. And this guy getting racial abuse in the comments below, and he's still getting all this kind of abuse, proving his point. It shows you how dumb people are, to be honest. But yeah, that's the last thing we're going to discuss. I'm going to call it a day there, guys. It's been, I don't even know how long I've been streaming for, to be honest with you. I'm just going to check on my phone quickly. It's just gone really fast. How long have I been going for? An hour and some change, I think. But yeah, we're going to be calling it a day there. I'll remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you everyone who joined. Thanks for the memberships and the super sticker and stuff like that. Really appreciate it. It does go a long way for the channel. Appreciate everyone who supported the pizza fund whilst I was preparing for a live stream. Yeah, I'll catch you guys hopefully next Saturday. I might try and do a special video for tomorrow, but no promises on that. It just depends. But yeah, I'll catch you all next Saturday, hopefully. Bye-bye.